we're going to watch a clip or two from the Joe Rogan podcast where he talks to Oliver Anthony, who is an up-and-coming singer-songwriter from Virginia. He sings in that old mountain folk style of music, and he's kind of blown up. He's got like millions of views. I think he's got like the biggest song, or the number one song in the world, I think on Spotify, maybe iTunes as well. And he's recorded it all on his Android phone, which is awesome. And so it was really cool. But he gets into his battle with depression, anxiety, and eventually starts talking about his relationship with God and how that kind of really, that was like the catalyst that like really shifted everything for him. And the way he talks about it is very, very universal with how people come around to a relationship with God. And but like I think the biggest thing is like Joe eggs him on, like asks him more questions about his relationship. Because I think a very fascinating thing about Joe Rogan the past couple of years is he has had more conversations with theists, people who believe in the idea of God, believe in God, have a relationship with God, or at least are starting one or wrestling with one, which is all we're really doing. We're wrestling with a relationship with God. And it's really cool to see, because as a theist who has watched Joe for years, has always been the biggest gripe me and my friends have had is he is so negative and condescending towards anybody who believes in God. And really all that comes down to is a lack of philosophical and theological understanding and education. That's really it. And a lot of people just don't take the time to do it. And I think a lot of people just, it's hard. It's a hard thing. Some people are good at physics. Some people aren't. Some people are really in tune with the idea of God and having a relationship with reality. And some people struggle with it. So it's really good to see Joe in the last couple of years have people on his podcast who are theists, who believe in God, and try to align their lives in a certain way. And then also to have better conversations, because he's always been very condescending and very stuck up when it comes to, the idea of God. And like it makes sense. He's talked about some rough experiences when he was a kid, going to Catholic school. It was awful for him. And that's usually what happens with a lot of people. They have a very bad experience with people that believe in God, right? People who claim to be Christian, people who claim to be, Orthodox Jewish or Muslim or of any religion, but in the United States, especially Christianity. And it really does mess people up. But it's really good to see Joe come around. But here we go. We'll play some of this, and we'll get into the video.
Well, yeah, but even before it, I have to be careful with what I say, because I don't, my shit stinks. I'm nobody special, and I'm not here to preach to anybody, but I'm telling you, giving things to God, for me, alleviated 99% of what, I had I don't know how to describe it, but when you experience, and I mean, you've done things that I haven't, with DMT and all, and that stuff's very intriguing to me. And so I'm open-minded to all that as well. I'm not, but yeah, I had, when I kind of had this breakdown moment and decided that I was going to let whatever ego I had go, and just at this point it's I knew I didn't have much left in for me anyway, and I wanted to serve whatever purpose it was that I was here to serve. It's you get this just overwhelming feeling in you. I was just crying like a baby, just this very warm feeling throughout me, and that really hasn't gone away since. I'm not the guy that can play in front of 12,000 people on guitar. I would be I mean, I had never played a paid gig. When we played the show at the farm market where Jamie Johnson showed up, that was my first paid gig. Like, I'm not a guy to go out and play live shows, but I can tell you I was so, like, I was just so at peace being up there. Like, it just felt like that's where I was supposed to be. And with all this, it has been, like, there's no way that Chris from 6 months ago could handle what's gone on the last 2 weeks, but I feel just so empowered from all of it. And I don't know. I'm telling you, like, again, I'm not anybody special, and I'm certainly not here to preach to anybody, but just from coming from somebody who was just in a really just fucked up place, like, and I use that word like with discretion, but in this case it describes like where I was. Like, that guy found a lot of peace, like, from this book and from
looking at things in a different way.
Yeah.
From looking at things through the eyes of Scripture.
And I think for me it was like I had been in, you know, I'd been in church growing up, and I had been exposed to all of that, but I'd found a lot of theatrics and a lot of politics in church and in religion when I was younger, and so it just immediately turned me off to it.
So if you can, take us to, like, what was, like, the day you picked it up? What was the feeling that you had? Like, what caused you to act? What was it like when you did it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd been reading it here and there, off and on, and I had for, like, off and on for a long time, like, because I was introduced to it as a kid, but it was really just like, I remember I went to the ER for everything that was going on. I mean, I thought I was seriously going to die. Like, I was having shooting pains up under my jaw, down in my wrist and my leg, like, just cardiovascular 101 symptoms. Of course, I'm 31. I had been, like, I could run 4 miles without stopping, no problem. So, like, I knew my heart was strong, but I just
freaking out.
Yeah, but I went and did that, and I remember being in the truck after that, just like, and I just had a breakdown moment. I was just crying, and was just I just felt hopeless, like almost the way a child feels hopeless when they, you know, like, you can't find your parent or something, like a 4-year-old that can't find his parents or something. I was just like, just didn't have anything left in me, and
Damn. I remember that when I was a kid. I had a moment just like that. Not like a coming to Jesus moment, but like, we were at a baseball game. My brother had played, I think, and they had won, and they were leaving, and my mom and dad were there, but they drove separately. So my brother gets in the car with my dad, and my dad's like, "You want to come with me?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to go with Mom." And he's like, "Okay." And they drive off, and it's packed. Everybody's trying to leave. And the park. And I go to my mom, and I'm like, I feel like I should have gone with Dad. Like, she's going to be here for a while. And then I go, "Mom, hey, I'm going to go with Dad." And she's, "All right, we better run up there and get to him." And I ran so hard. I ran through this wooded area in the park to get to his car, and I couldn't find him. I was like, "Oh, I lost him." I was like, "Dad, Dad." And I was screaming, "Ah." And I was like so hopeless, just like he's talking about right there. You can't find your parents. And then all of a sudden, I was like walking around the cars, and I see Dad roll down the window, and he's like, "Come here." And he just grabs me from the window and pulls me into the window. And I was like, oh, so relieved I found him. Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. I just decided, like, right then and there, I was like, I know I can't do this anymore. But I know that I can. I know there's things that I need to do, and I was just told God, I was like, just let me do it. Like, and I'll give all this shit up. I'll give up the weed, and I'll quit getting drunk, and I'll quit being so angry about things, and I'll just, like, I'll just call it good. Whatever I've done up up until I was 30 or whatever, 31, like, we'll just call that good, and I'll start over again, and I'll make him the focus and not me. And I just tried to let my ego and everything that I was, just let that go and just focus on, because obviously, like, it's not just me. I've seen it with even other people I know, and I see it with celebrities and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like we're in such a weird place right now in the world that I feel like God's working inadvertently through certain people to get his point across.
So take me to what you did. Did you start reading the Bible?
So the fact that Joe's even asking questions like this, like, is a really shocking thing. Like, if you followed him from the beginning, he has not really ever been interested in people and their journey towards faith or their journey towards God. But it's very fascinating that he's able to do that to a younger man, a person who's 20 plus years younger than him. That's very fascinating, but cool to see.
Like, what did you do?
I just changed my perspective.
You changed.
I quit worrying about me, and I started worrying about what it is that I'm supposed to do. It talks in the Bible about being a servant, and giving up, I guess, my desire and my will and whatever it is that I want to do. Like, I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's about trying to use what I have as a tool versus doing what I can in the moment to give myself whatever satisfaction that it is I'm trying to get. It's about trying to let go of your ego, I guess, in a way. And I mean, people pursue that mentality without faith. I mean, it's the idea of there being something bigger than you, but I think inherently all human beings idolize something. Like, it talks in the Bible about false idols. We all have false idols, like whether it's our phone or it's a celebrity or it's something we do or it's our addiction to food or drugs or whatever. But like, it's very difficult for a human to be the biggest thing on their hierarchy. There's always something above us, right? Because we're always in pursuit of something bigger than whatever it is in that moment. And I think for me, it was just about taking everything else, all the distractions and all the other things in my life away, and just ensuring that at least, and look, we all sin and we all do stupid things. Like, we're all just people. Nobody's special or righteous. People sometimes act like they're special and righteous, but we're all just the same thing. Like, but it's just about trying to make that my idol. Make God and the concept of what it is that he wants done on this earth my idol versus anything else. Like, we all serve some master, whether we realize it or not. So why not let it be the master that is above all?
Boom. That is a very deep insight that a lot of people either never come to or wrestle with and resist their entire lives. They either don't come to it because they would rather pursue easier thoughts and things that take their mind off of eventually getting to that idea, or they know it's there, right? They faced it and they don't want to accept it, and they struggle against it for a long time. But for him to say that at 31, that's great. Yeah, it's really cool to see a person blow up. That phrase, blow up, and be from humble beginnings and be able to see the writing on the wall in a way. And not push that idea away, but like begin to settle into it, because that's a tough thing, because when you accept that, there's things that you have to shift in your life. There's a standard that you have to hold yourself to, and it's not easy. Most people do not want to come to that idea, accept that idea, because of the difficulty in which life becomes, the difficulty that your life takes on in the pursuit of holding yourself to it, if that makes any sense.
And so when you made this transformation in your mind, did you then start reading scripture like regularly? Like, what did you start doing?
Yeah, well,
that was different.
Well, what really, I guess it's like now I don't read it. I don't read it because I feel like I should read it to be a better person. It's like now I try to read it for the guidance within it. And I'm still in the infancy stages of a lot of this. Like I've read a lot of Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes, and Luke, and there's other good books, but just trying to, I don't know, like trying to restructure, I guess, on a granular level, like I guess the neural pathways in my brain that have certain habits and certain ways of thought, like I've tried to retrain that to, like there's things it says, like, and I'll be very brief with this, I promise, but like one thing, ironically, it's Proverbs 4:20, which I thought you would like. So if there's anything better.
Perfect.
But,
Read it. Preach.
My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free from perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. But
that's pretty fucking profound.
But the whole
Joe kills me when it comes to anything from the Bible. Like people have come on his show and reference verses from the Bible, and he's like, "Whoa, wow!" And it's like, wow, it's like you've bashed Christianity for so long and never gone back and like tried to read it and like extrapolate. It's fascinating to see him finally at a place where he's like, wow, okay, that's really awesome. But man, it is a sad thing when young people redirect their lives away from anything biblical or anything theological because of people that they have had interactions with that have, put a bitter taste in their mouth when it comes to Christianity or just God in general. But if you live long enough and, you keep, it seems, watching Joe, you live long enough, you still try to pursue what's good, it comes back somehow. This is just so awesome to watch.
The whole book of Proverbs is like that. Like it's not preachy. It's not what you think. Like it's good guidance. It's like good guidance that you would want a father to give to his son.
What do you think it comes from? Like if you had to guess, where do you think the Bible comes from? Like
he needs to get some Bible scholars on the show. He's asked this a couple times before. It seems like something he's struggling with.
It was an oral tradition for who knows how many years before they ever wrote it down.
Yeah.
What do you think these stories come from?
I think when you think that everything in the Bible is literal, that's how I grew up. Grew up fundamentalist, and you think of everything written in the Bible as literal, and you don't realize that other certain parts of the Bible are written poetically to express universal truths in a deeper way. And people really struggle with seeing the Bible as a collection of different books expressing different things and written differently for different purposes. And so they just battle with it instead of like doing deeper research and finding out like how it was written, how it was brought together, and what scholars think about this book compared to that book, and what the author of this book was trying to express with this story that's completely like out there, like Jonah getting swallowed by a whale and stuff like that. There's depth to it that you lose when you dismiss it as all make-believe for make-believe purposes. You know? You don't dismiss Iron Man when you watch Iron Man. It's like, oh, this never happened. Why would I watch it? Well, what am I going to learn from this? It's like some great lessons in this. There are universal truths being expressed here.
Well, I believe that people come across in different points of time, and I think they are given messages that need to be delivered. And I'm not in any way trying to parallel me to anyone in any of these books by any means, but I do think that throughout history, like even beyond from what's been written in this Bible, there's been important people that came along and said important, or maybe not even important people. Sometimes it's the lowly of the low that come along and just say things that need to be said. And if I could, to me, it's like there's no question that this is an intelligent planet we live on, in an intelligent solar system. Everything is just much more immense than any human on Earth would admit. Like even people in science, so much of science is based on theory. Like it's this very elegantly written way of thinking, but it ultimately, if you take it down to its, like on a granular level, it's all in many ways based on theory. And so I think the Earth is far more intelligent than we realize, and the systems that we live in. Like I just don't think somebody just pulled all that out of thin air. I do think that, and maybe it's I've been waiting for my time to bring up the aliens but in all seriousness, it's like for me, I believe that well,
let me
if you read through it, it's so much of it is so timeless, and so much of it, if you read about the rich and the poor and the wicked and the way, just the inherent human behavior that existed at the time when these books were written back then, it's so parallel to what goes on today, like to the point that you wouldn't, if you just read it out of context and didn't know it was scripture, a lot of it sounds like something somebody wrote 2 hours ago and posted on a vlog or whatever.
Case in point, read the book of Ezekiel right now. That is his whole point. Like if you read that book right now, you'll be like, oh shoot, that was written today. Humans have struggled with the same things, the same ills, the same desires, passions, lies, and deception for a long time. And we forget. And the Bible, in many ways, is a book written and meant to be read in order to remember the depravity of where we've been, what we're capable of, and then also to fill you full of hope in the redemptive nature of who we are. Like we do come around. We'll do some shit though. Like we'll put each other through some hell. But in some way, someone will speak up. A prophet will speak up. And that truth will be so undeniable that it will change the course of everybody around. I mean, that's what the prophets did in the Old Testament. Every time Israel would get off track, they'd be worshiping other idols, the false gods of other nations. A prophet would speak up and be like, hey, look, we're off the track. This is happening because of this, and this, and this. And, it's still happening today. So for any other purpose than to just make sure that you don't make the same mistakes as your forefathers have or our ancestors have, that's why you should read some of the Bible.
It's like to me, there is no other book like it.
Have you paid any attention to Graham Hancock and Randall?
Really cool to see Joe talking to somebody younger than him, and with a lot of respect. Not poo-pooing anything that he says, even though it's something that he might not believe, or I feel like Joe is wrestling with, this idea of God. But he's just been so, hurt by people in the world of Christianity. And I get it. Same. But when you can get past the fact that the people are not the idea is beyond us, that we're always going to fail in expressing or fail in, portraying and living up to, then you can set aside and separate the two. It is a hard thing to do, though, but a lot of people struggle with it. I struggled with it for a long time. But sometimes it can get it. Sometimes people struggle with it because it's like they don't want to take accountability either. It's easier to put blame on other people for something and then not be able, like if you put the blame on people who say they're Christians and do horrible things and say, well, that's why I don't believe in God. It is a childish or an ignorant response. The older you get, you should be able to differentiate the people from the ideas. But if you hold on to that, it's almost like you're keeping yourself from taking the accountability of how you should be relating with the idea of God, And that could be your entire life, not taking that accountability and forgiving those people, or just forgiving yourself for not letting that go. There's a lot there, but I think a lot of people don't realize that they're struggling with that, separating the people from the idea. They'll do it with other things, very easily. But when it comes to God and to Christianity, people really do struggle with that. And what's funny is there's a lot of people now talking about their struggles with growing up in like fundamentalist church and like disentangling themselves from that fundamentalist legalistic approach to a relationship with God, and finding the real relationship that Christ spoke about and the good news of the gospel. And there's a whole bunch of people out there talking about that right now, and connecting with each other that have, the same gripes that a Joe Rogan would have, growing up in Catholic school. So it's, I think I'm rambling now, but really cool to watch these two guys talk and see somebody, like Oliver Anthony, who's like, he's 31, and he's had a lot of, all of a sudden, this celebrity status has been thrust on him, and he just wants to, he wants to do one podcast with Joe and kind of like not do anything else, kind of get his thoughts out there and just play his music. If you're young right now and you don't see anybody in music and in entertainment or whatever that's someone that you want to emulate, you just don't. Everybody's fake, because most people are. Most people are so self-entitled and self-interested and egotistical and arrogant and all about me. This is a guy that is really, really somebody you should consider embracing his thought process. consider these ideas that he speaks of in your own life. He seems like he's. If I had a kid right now, I would tell him, hey, watch this conversation. You'll get way more out of this conversation than you will watching, some, I don't know, some pop star, Doja Cat, talking about, her record or her music or something like that, No offense to Doja Cat, but, there's no depth there, and we as people, just unconsciously crave depth, at different levels. We're all at a certain level, and we need more depth. Wherever we're at, we need more depth. And this is a great podcast for younger people trying to come up and do that thing. I was inspired by listening to him, and I'm 35, and it's really cool to see him, coming around and I like how he's dedicating his life in a different way. He said he had a perspective shift, and that's usually where when people start, coming into their own. There's some type of perspective shift that happens. The only way that shift happens is by not letting that spark, that fire in your belly die. If you don't let it die, if you don't let it extinguish that desire to do something with you, if you don't stop wrestling with it, if you don't stop it, then you won't have to worry. You'll get there. You'll figure it out. I think it's true.